Church here on your Catholic station, Real Life Radio 1380 and 94.9 FM. I'm Jennifer Longworth, looking today at the Lighthouse Ministries, joined by Tay Henderson, co-founder and executive director, and Greg Horn, director of development. Welcome to the program, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
So typically we start off just telling people about your organization and who you are, and being co-founder, how you came about, and tell us about Lighthouse.
Well, the Lighthouse was basically started in the early 90s. We used to go to the Salvation Army and do ministry down there with families, and there was a time when there was not any kind of ministry in the inner city, and there was a lot of drugs and alcohol and violence, and we started to look for a place in the inner city and started over in the area that we're in on Spruce Street is where we started, and just began to reach out to people, feeding Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For a while, all of us had jobs and stuff, and then we started looking for another place to serve. And so that's basically, we saw a need where people needed help, and they weren't getting it. And so that's basically, we saw a need. The people that were involved had, similar backgrounds of drugs and alcohol where, God had changed their lives. And so that's basically where it started. Mm-hmm.
And you guys are celebrating your 10-year anniversary.
Yeah, we're just, so excited. I had our 10th anniversary on Thursday night. It just went wonderfully. We had Dave Baker emceed it for us, and then we had Congressman Andy Barr and the mayor, Jim Gray, come and just recognize the accomplishments. And, most nonprofits only survive 3 years, and so to be able to have made it 10 years, we just feel very fortunate. And just want to celebrate with all our wonderful volunteers and financial supporters and just the people who have had their lives changed by the Lighthouse.
Which means you're doing something right if you've been here for 10 years, right?
Well, we think so. Like everybody, you have days you wonder, but yes, God's done a lot of great things, and Tay is just amazing. With her husband passing away right before the ministry officially started, and to carry the torch here for 10 years is just a phenomenal accomplishment. Really proud of her and thankful to be her friend and part of the team. And
you guys even have big plans to expand in the works. That's coming sooner rather than later, hopefully, right?
Yes.
Yes. Having been there 10 years, really we've been in that area longer, but being open in this ministry, you can kind of see what needs aren't being met or where there maybe not enough. And so we want to start working with women. Okay. Definitely one of the big things, too, besides working with women, which is a big need, is to be able to feed everybody at one time in the dining room instead of making people wait outside. Our services, we have one at 12, one, and then at 2. So, we could, I think last week was our record. I think we fed 130. And there would be more, but, they don't want to wait outside for, 2.5 hours to come in and eat. And then working with people as far as nutrition and exercise and support groups. The ministry, there's such a need in that area. Just and being open to, when we do open up, just to see, all right, what else is it that we're going to need to do here? Mm-hmm. So it's exciting.
Yeah, I think just to go along with what Tay said, I speak on Tuesdays at the lunches at noon and 1. We do about a 15-20-minute devotion, and we give them a snack at first, but we want to not only meet their physical needs, which obviously are huge, but their spiritual needs. Mm-hmm. And, there's nothing worse than when it's 3 degrees below zero with what it was this past winter with wind chill factor. Right. And at about 10 after 12 said, I'm sorry, we can only get 50 in the current building. Mm-hmm. And so, like she said, now not to have to turn anybody away, you'll have to come back at 1. And even yesterday, we had to do a 2 o'clock service. Now we can do everybody, and when we get this building finished this summer, at one time. And so we go from having a 4,000 square foot building to a 12,000 square foot.
That's a little bit of difference, guys.
A little bit. It'll be fine. I cannot wait. Can't wait. We have it fixed up right now in the building for when we did the tours, so people could come in and visualize what it looks like. And so I think that'll help people just understand, what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Especially since if they've seen what you have now, which is relatively small. I've been for the tour and been for breakfast, and it is small, and people are even hanging out outside when I've come by.
Right. Absolutely, and we've been able to start things, as Tay said. She's done a great job with, as needs come up, like we saw tremendous needs for shoes last year, and you all were great here at the station to help us with a shoe drive, and it's called Michael's Shoes, and I'll let Tay talk about how that got started.
Well, it was like, I think I've shared it before, it was like an epidemic of shoes. Just they're walking in, their shoes are duct taped and blowouts and tore up, and I'm like, did everybody's shoes just fall apart at once? But so I was starting to ask for shoes, and I wasn't getting any, and finally I was like, I'm not kidding, I really need shoes. And so just the first couple weeks, when I finally got shoes in, we put it on Facebook, just showing the shoes that we were changing out was just, it was incredible. I'd never seen anything like it. And so it's called Michael's Feet. One of the guys that, the reason it was called Michael's Feet is we've had several people that have come through the Lighthouse that really touched our hearts. And there was a guy out front, and his name, this particular guy, Marissa, was out front with him. His shoes were like 3 sizes too small. He had sores all over his feet. And I'm like, don't touch his feet without gloves. But they were bleeding. Oh, wow. And it's, she was tearing up. And, we ended up, helping him get his feet cleaned and bandaged up, and shoes that fit his feet with clean socks. And that's another thing we try to do. If we give him a pair of shoes, give him a pair of clean socks. And I'm like, we're just going to call this thing Michael's Feet, because it just seems like that's, just seems to be, it's not like we're out here trying to invent things to do. It's just, they come up, and then, it's like, well, let's call it something so we'll know what it is that we're talking about. But that was Michael's Feet. So.
And your request for shoes, actually, you were here for a different interview.
Right.
About an event you had at your church, and you were like, hey, while I'm here, can I, mention these shoes for the Lighthouse? And then we went, this is an organization that Real Life Radio needs to partner with.
Right.
Look at all these great things they're doing. We want to support this mission. So that's kind of how we even developed our relationship. Right. Is this you asking for shoes and going, it worked.
Yeah.
I asked for shoes, and people showed up with shoes.
Well, and one of the things that, you guys don't know, you and Lisa and Leo and everybody that works so hard here, sometimes you don't hear the impact that Real Life Radio has. And we had a young man named Derek that I'm going to let Tay share about, because she knows him a lot better than I do, that we were able to provide teeth for because, and a lot quicker than it would have normally been possible because of Real Life Radio. So Tay, why don't you tell about Derek?
Derek is another fellow that's probably been coming to the Lighthouse at least 7 or 8 years. He has never talked to me ever. If you try to touch him or just shake his hand, he always cowers over. And this one day in particular, it was a day I was upstairs doing the service. He said, Miss Tay, and I turned around and looked at him. I'm like, did you just say my name? You just said my name. He's my teeth, my mouth, and so. He finished eating, and I brought him downstairs to talk to him, and what was going on, his whole mouth was just infected, and he was in such pain. He was not able to eat. He was soaking his food either in his coffee, which I had noticed that, but people
like to do that,
fetishes, right? I don't know. And so it was, he couldn't chew his food. He would wet it with his coffee, and he would just swallow it. And so, I got on the phone and started making some phone calls, and I had some appointments, and, we found out he could go to the Hope Center to get a grant to go to the health department to get his teeth. And so we set it up, and Chris was taking him. Now, this guy's in pain. His mouth is a mess. And so Chris went to the Hope Center, got the grant, took it over there to set up an appointment. And then they said, oh, we heard your director on Real Life Radio, and they just took him right in and started working on him just immediately because they had heard about us on the radio. So that was awesome. Kudos for you all. But it was, and so he was able to go in. They had to give him some antibiotics because his teeth all need to be pulled, and then when he did get his teeth pulled, somebody else we had reached out for a place for him to go, because if you have all your teeth pulled and you're homeless, probably might want to. I mean, he could go stay at the Hope Center, but anyway, it just seemed like it just worked out. It was just really cool that somebody had heard us on the radio, and then and just got him right in. So we were very appreciative, because it was going to be a long process, and he needed help.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys sharing that with us too, because sometimes we feel like we're stuck here on 110 Dennis Drive, and are we really making a difference? We're having these people on the air, we're doing these shows, but are people listening? And that just says that, yeah, someone's listening, and we're getting the message out. So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk more about Lighthouse and how people get involved, joined by Tay Henderson and Greg Horn of Lighthouse Ministries here on your Community Connection Corner, here on your Catholic station, Real Life Radio 1380 and 94.9 FM WMJR, Nicholasville, Lexington.